Hi YouTube, welcome back to another trying my best to fix something video. This should hopefully be an interesting one. Going to be taking a look at two different Joy-Cons today. One you're seeing under the microscope here is, it should be just a simple little fix, this little button here that you're seeing. Then the second one is going to be this little guy. Can't really see him too well, but it's another no power Joy-Con. Not powering on. I did take a brief look at it. You can see that the shell was undone, but I don't really know anything more than just taking a look at it, trying a different rail, and that didn't do it. So it's definitely a board problem. So we'll have fun with that one. But to start, this guy right here, this little button, he clicks, he does what he's supposed to do, but not for very long. Because you can see the metal that's encasing the button on all the sides, this one's broken off. So every time you press it, it's kind of pressing back more and more, and it's putting pressure on these pins, which you don't want to do because these pads break off really easily. So what I'm going to do is secure that metal piece around the button. And I'm going to start off with securing the far side, actually this one. You can just bend this in, and you know, there's a little slot for it. You can see right here, there's a little slot for these metal pieces. But what I do is I take my iron and push it in so that way it has heat. So it kind of melts the plastic a little bit. So that way the metal has a better grip. That way it's kind of more deeply embedded into the button. The plastic around the button itself. Better hold, I think. So now I'm going to do the other side. Need some more solder on that pad. Lay down some flux first. That's far too much, but you can never have too much flux. Okay, let's go again. Yeah, that's a good hold. I like that. I'm getting a little bit more. Awesome. And it looks like this side was broken off at one point because it doesn't have a little piece that we can push into this part right here like we did on this side. That's still a good hold though. I like that. Let's press it in a little bit. See what it does. Yep, that's holding in nice and tight. Awesome. I'm going to clean that up a little bit. Cool. So that is now a good button. This is on the left Joy-Con, this little button here. And this is the same button that's used on the rightmost Joy-Con. And on the right Joy-Con, this button's soldered onto the board. So if the button breaks, you got to replace the button itself. Well, on the leftmost Joy-Con, you can see that if we follow this little wire we got going here, you can see it plugs into the board. So it's a modular button. It can be removed. So if this button breaks, you can just get a new one of these little components and pop it in, and you're good. You have a good button now. On the right Joy-Con, you can't do that. You got to replace this guy itself, which is a pain, but oh well, what are you gonna do? Okay, so we're gonna move on to the other Joy-Con now, but I just wanted to quickly mention here, you can see the Joy-Con itself is a little bit purple. You can see I'll bring it up to the camera here. See, we got a purple Joy-Con here. What I've been doing lately is I kind of have a soft spot for these colored Joy-Cons. Never knew that I did, but it's just a recent thing from the past few weeks. So what I've been doing is transferring components from Joy-Cons to custom colored ones. I've got a few here that I'm gonna do. I'm really excited about. Got some clear ones. And I've got some more over here that I've done. And they're all ready. These are really neat. I love these. Any color you can imagine. You can get a shelf for. I really like these. Nice quality too. Some of them. Some colors are, I think I just got bad prints or something, but some of them are a little bit finicky with like the minus and start or plus buttons. Like they're a little bit hard to press, but other than that, they're good. Yeah, I also make custom candles. Yeah, I have a lot of side things. But anyway, let's move on to the second Joy-Con. Okay, here it is. So I'm gonna pop in a rail and test it, just so you can see what's going on. Alright, so let's dive right on into this. I've got a rail here, and I'm gonna pop it in and throw it on a switch just to show you 100% that it's not connecting up. This is a known good rail. I pulled it off of a working switch. So let's go ahead and pop it in. We'll go that way. Right like this. Okay. Yep. Nothing's coming up. Yeah, no response. Okay. This latch is a little funny. Oh, jeez. It doesn't want to hold it either. I'm gonna go ahead and take this latch out. I actually have these latches 3D printed. A buddy of mine has a 3D printer. I asked him to just print me off a few of these every now and again, because I like to do those, you know, Joy-Con mods that I showed in the last little segment there. So I'll get these Joy-Cons broken, and I'll fix them up sometimes, and I'll throw them up in those custom shells. They turn out real nice. But a lot of the time, these little latches here that lock into the switch, they wear out real easy. So just have them 3D printed. And sometimes they come out a little weird in terms of width. It doesn't really want to move back and forth whenever you try to put it into the switch. It's like overly hard. It doesn't want to go in. So I'm just gonna sand this down real quick. Alright, that should be good. Okay. I'm gonna put that to the side. I'll worry about putting that in later. I'm sure you didn't want to watch me put a latch into a Joy-Con. That's not very fun. But this is, or at least it should be. So first things first, it's not one to connect. So that should be, from previous experience, first video, that should be this little fuse up here, I think. I'm pretty sure that's the guy. Down here there's a fuse. Here, I'll bring it up for you. there's a fuse right here, and that's used for battery connections. For it to work wirelessly and over battery and stuff, but that doesn't affect it just latching in and working wired. This one will, because it won't even, I guess, dock. It won't show up in the switch if that guy's bad. So let's give it a test. Let's see what happens. Probe on that end, probe on this end. Do you beep? Oh, you do beep. Okay, so that says fuse is good. Let me test the battery terminal fuse. See what's going on. That one's good too. Okay, well, it's usually the fuse. So I think, since it's not turning on, I'm just gonna ground, put my probe on one of the grounds here and just go around and test a whole bunch of the capacitors around chips, like, you know, this guy, you know, these ones, just a bunch of them over here. I'll fast forward it so that way you don't have to watch me go through each individual one. Sorry about that, my overhead light likes to just start freaking out sometimes. No idea why. So we're gonna have a little bit worse lighting, but it's the best I can do. Okay, where was I? So I might have found something just now. Not entirely sure. I'm gonna have to get a reference board to see, but you can see that on these little guys right here, you can see there's two lined up vertically. Whenever I test on one end of the rightmost one, see top end, got a short, bottom, got a short, and this one too, immediately to the left. Top, short, bottom, short. So I'm gonna tear apart another one. I'm gonna test to see if that's happening on that one too.
Okay, here we got this one.
So let's give the same test. See if the same thing's going on. You know what? This thing keeps getting in the way. Gives me false readings. I was short. Okay. Up, down, short, short, short. Okay. So that wasn't the issue. Let's get back to testing. Okay, a lot of things seem to be checking out here. So I'm gonna go ahead and disassemble it the whole way so that way we can see the underside of the board. Test some components there. Okay, who can I use as ground? Are you ground? You're ground. I'm not sure what this is. Is this a fuse? It's different than all the rest. These are all capacitors. Actually, I don't think I'm on ground. I'm not getting any beeps. Where can I use a ground? There we go. There's a ground. Okay, well, I've tested near about everything on the board, so, and nothing's really coming across as faulty. I mean, most of our, I think all of our capacitors are just shorting on one end, except for these two. If they actually are capacitors, I'm not even sure. Can't see it too well. I think I'm gonna bring it under the microscope, and we'll just kind of slide it around, see if we can find anything that looks amiss, see if there's anything that catches our eye. Here I've got the front side of the board, so we'll just kind of scan through, see if we can see anything. I've looked up a little bit people who have experienced no power Joy-Cons. Not many people out there. I guess not many people are concerned about trying to fix their Joy-Cons that aren't powering up. Or maybe most of them, it's something simple like a bad rail. Nothing actually wrong with the board itself. Well, it's not looking good. This looks a little bit strange. See these two? Might be capacitors. Might be filters. I'm not sure. Maybe even resistors. Actually, I think they might be resistors because they look like they're at the very end of a circuit. They're probably a pull down or a pull up resistor. Those are used to, whenever a circuit's powered down, they're there to make sure that the circuit is actually off. No excess electricity is getting passed around the board anywhere. What are you? Are you just some sort of filling that got placed on top for some reason? Yeah, it's sticky. Thought it might have been blown, but no, it's just like some sort of glue. And it's coming off. And same with this one too. It's just a little piece of something. Yeah, well, I don't really know with this one. Man, getting a lot of these lately. I don't like putting Joy-Cons down and not being able to do anything with them. But it seems to be working okay. Well, the board seems to be looking okay. It's not working okay at all. It's not powering on. Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, okay, so what we're gonna do now, well, I guess we'll revisit that in the future, possibly. If anyone has any suggestions, might have to bring this back up in the future. Because I'm kinda at a roadblock here, I'm not sure. So I'm gonna take out the board of the red Joy-Con that I used to compare. This is a good working one. I know for sure it is. Tested it. And it needs a little bit of work. So we're gonna move on to that one now. Just taking it out of its case. Here we go. Okay, so these are both right Joy-Cons. Yeah, here we go. So this right here is the one we were just checking out, the no power one. Here's the one that we need to work on. Yeah, notice the difference? No switch. Oh wait, I was showing you the wrong like indentation, but here we go. Yeah. So look at that, no switch, and you actually see this a lot, especially with right Joy-Cons, because what happens is these buttons, they're surface mount buttons onto the motherboard, and they're not secured very well at all. It's just these two solder joints holding it down to ground, and you have these 3 pins right there, and these will come loose. Either like the joints themselves will become weak, or the shielding that is around the button that's being soldered down to these pads just kind of comes off and comes loose. You know, one of the two. But either way, that comes undone, and you end up getting all your force being put on these pads, and they're not meant to have a lot of force be put on them. So what happens is they just tear up, and then the button goes. It just goes on its own journey. It's gone. So what you have to do a lot of the time is, you can see the black where there's supposed to be a pad, pad here, but it extends up sort of along this line. You can see an indentation of something used to be here. Oh, bounce the camera a bit. But there's a little bit of something still up here, and a little bit of something still up here and wrapping around here. That's the rest of its trace that's still alive. And what we can do is the green coating on the board itself, we can scrape that away, and we'll expose the bare copper beneath, and that'll act as a pad, but you know, it's not enough to place a button down and it'll make connection with that pad and you know what we're going to be exposing here. So what we have to do is run wires between these 3 connections. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and start into that. Okay, so I've got the wires on, and you'll notice that I didn't lay anything down on the third most pad here, the bottom one. That's because you'll see that this trace goes right on up to this this pin on the button, and that's just its grounding. So as long as it is one ground, so that whenever you press the button in, it'll send its response saying that it's actually doing something to this middle pin here. And as long as it has two ways to communicate, telling it yes or no, am I on or off, that sort of thing, you're good to go. So I only solder just 2 wires there. 3 gets kind of a little bit messy. Since you can see how small the lines are that I'm soldering to, I struggled a bit with that one. So I'm gonna go ahead and transfer over to the hand cam so we can test to see if what I did worked. Here's the board we just soldered this button on to. I'm gonna put it back in the red case. I'm not sure if that's where it came out of. Pretty sure it did. I have the gray one right here, but I'm pretty sure this is the red one originally. So I'm gonna try to match it up with the color it came with. Although it doesn't really matter. You can change that if you hook it up to your computer. You can tell it what color to display as. So I'm just gonna get this together enough to be able to test whether or not the button works. So I'll put in that screw and the other screw just to hold the board down. I want to be able to test the other buttons too, because there was this one Joy-Con I did a while back where I soldered the button on, did exactly what I just did, and when I would have the button on, the button would work, shoulder button, but none of the other ones did. So A, B, X, Y, home, plus, nothing worked. But as soon as I disconnected it, all these buttons worked, but of course this didn't work because it wasn't on. And it would, happen every time that I changed the variable. It would do exactly that, just over and over again. No matter how many things I tried, just kept doing that same thing. Weird. Okay, let's give it a shot. Let me go ahead and pull up the controller test page so I don't have to navigate there. Controllers and sensors, test, controller buttons. Oh yeah, we don't have the latch in, so it's not going to lock in at all. Okay, that's fine. Hello? You're in? No buttons are working. Okay. I'm gonna check my work on that button to make sure I did it all correctly. I feel like I shouldn't have mentioned that issue with the button being on and everything not working, because this is looking to be exactly as that went. So let me go over to the microscope just to myself, see if I can spot anything. I'm back. So I took a look at it, and the middle pin, it looked like it was soldered alright, but whenever I gave it a wiggle, it came off. The wire came off, so I think it was just a loose connection. So I went ahead and redid it. So let's see if that made any difference. Still no, huh? Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna try taking the button off to see what happens. Wires to the button have been disconnected. Let's see if that makes a difference. No. Oh, wait. Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, so you're gonna be one of those fancy ones, are ya? Little shoulder button. Oh, man. Guess I'm gonna have to figure this out, aren't I? Okay. We are in for a big one. I'm gonna connect the wires back up as they were, and what I'm gonna do this time is go ahead and connect that third pin to that third trace that I didn't bother doing because I said it wasn't worth it. But I'm just gonna do it this time, see what happens, see if it makes any difference. Alright, so I've got all 3 wires running to all 3 pins of the button. So the pins are running exactly where they're supposed to go. Let's see what happens. I got it done a lot quicker than you saw me doing it, because my microscope still doesn't see what you're seeing. You're seeing a very zoomed in version of what I see through my microscope, and you're looking at a monitor. I have the screen or the camera pointed at a monitor, and I can't be watching that as I'm soldering. That's above me. So still gonna try to figure that out. So let's see, one thing at a time. What do you do? Uh-oh. Oh no. You're still doing your thing. I don't get it. Why does having the button in as exactly as it came? No difference. It's all in. Why does that break the controller? I'm gonna give it a think. Okay, so the only thing I could come up with is essentially there's something wrong with the button, or I soldered these ground pins down wrong and it's pulling the entire button to ground, and no matter how many times you press it, no matter how you press it, no matter what you do, it's always going to be pulling it to ground, and that'll essentially be a short on the circuit, which would cause the whole thing to die. That's my thought process. That's the only thing I can come up with why a simple little shoulder button wired in as it's supposed to be could kill an entire circuit. But that's where I've come to, and I mean, I'm not sure what else there could be. So if you have any suggestions, go ahead and let me know. I'm curious about this, because this same situation happened before and I want to figure it out. Whenever things start being things like this, whenever it starts getting recurring all the time and I can't figure it out, man, that just makes me want to figure it out even more. So we will overcome this. This guy will work. It's just a matter of figuring it out. But we can do it. We can do it together. Got a community going now, don't we? Alright, so I think that'll wrap it up. If you like what you saw, consider giving me a subscribe on your way out. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.